Hello, my name is Jake Bryan, and welcome to the second installment of my Introduction to Bitcoin course. Today we're going to go over what is money and its purpose. Money is, it's how we exchange goods for each other. Here are different examples of money all over the world. As you can see, the $1 bill, Chinese yuan, all these different currencies. But the main question here is, what is money? Well, technically, money is the communication of value. Now, many people don't understand this or learn this in high school, so don't feel too bad. I didn't know this. I had to go out and learn this on my own. But basically, money is the glue that puts the market together. So let's say I wanted to buy this cell phone, which I did. So what I did is I exchanged a certain amount of money that Google wanted in exchange, and I got their good back, which is this phone. Back in the day, they used to have barter, so I would have to produce things like on my farm and then be able to trade one thing for another because, I would have to trade one thing for another. And with today, it's just easier to have one good or one commodity, as you would call it, for as the middleman in between all of these goods and services. And that's what money is. I say I value this so much because I'm giving you, so much of my money, and it's worth more because I'm willing to pay more for it. Now, some of the characteristics of money include a unit of account, store of value, and a medium of exchange. And medium of exchange is kind of what I was just describing there. A unit of account is a standard measurement of value of goods, services, economic activities, assets, and liabilities. A common unit of account is what allows us to compare items. For example, 10 limes versus 3 books. Name any other good you want to, like a monster truck versus an AR-15. And you see my point. You're able to show how much one thing is worth versus how much another thing is worth. And what makes money a good unit of account is the stability of the value of the unit of account makes it much more useful. The US dollar versus the Zimbabwean dollar, which one's more valuable as a unit of account? The US dollar only inflates a certain amount, whereas the Zimbabwean dollar, they don't even use it in their country anymore. It's like $2 trillion Zimbabwean dollars equals like a US dollar. It's ridiculous. The inflation went rampant. They used 8 different currencies in that country, and that's why that one is not worth as much as the US dollar. It's also a store of value as a characteristic. It basically means a mechanism by which wealth can be saved and retrieved in the future with some predictability about its value. For instance, gold. For the last 5,000 to 6,000 years, it's been used as a store of value because it's always worth the same. There's only so much available of it in the world. And yeah, that's one of the notable stores of value: silver, gold, diamonds, and real estate. Real estate is really important, especially if you're able to produce a lot of food and it's a great location. Medium and exchange. Money also has the characteristics of medium exchange, and medium exchange even has different aspects to it. And I told you before, it's basically the glue that puts the market all together. I'm able to exchange this money for that phone, and then you're able to take that money I gave you and go buy your groceries with it, right? You couldn't have done that before. It would have been really, really complicated if we were still in a barter type system. So now, here are the different characteristics of a medium of exchange. Durability, for example, metals, gems, etc. Transportability, paper money and credit cards, which are pretty easy to carry, lightweight, versus gold coins, which are heavy, and rhinestones, which are really, really heavy and huge. I'll insert a photo after this. I'll insert a photo here to show you what a rhinestone looks like. Divisibility. Can you have, in the paper money system, you have a $100 bill, 50, 20, 10, 5, 1, and then cents. Whereas in a lot of third world countries where you have farmers, you just have livestock, pigs, cows, goats. It's really hard to maintain the life of a cow or livestock when you're trying to divide it up and split it among someone. So it's a lot more useful as a medium of exchange if you use paper money versus livestock. Non-counterfeitability, whether it's easily able to make copies and whether they're legal or not. For instance, monopoly money. Let's say if people accepted that as money, well, people could just print them out all the time on the printer. Whereas with the U.S. dollar bills, they have certain chemistry and uses built into it, so where it's very, very hard for anyone to counterfeit it. Fungibility. Each unit is identical to another. That's very, very important aspect when we talk and describe about a piece of money. Is my $1 bill the same as this other $1 bill? And yeah, that's what a medium of exchange is. Now, we need to know the history of money before we can really judge the money we have today. So before, we used to have barter and favor type systems. I would be a baker, I would sell this bread, and I would need other things in exchange for it, right? So I would go to a grain farmer or wheat farmer, and I would buy some from him on a favor that I would be able to give him some bread in return, and I would be able to do all these other things and get all these other goods from other people. And let's say I really want this job and you help me get there, then I would owe you a favor of maybe cooking you a meal or something else like that. These things still exist today, especially in developing countries. The Balkans, it's very good for favors. Thailand, Vietnam, all these countries like that are still have the favor type system built in because they really are more of a community and they're more localized. And that's really where it's more useful to have this type of system. But money has really come along and made it so where you really don't need to do all this interaction among your neighbors and friends. Next came metal. There's bronze, iron, copper, gold, silver, and they have different weights, and you would still have to weight them because you'd have different people minting coins, different countries, different rulers doing all of this. Civilizations would rise and fall based on how much they reduce the amount of gold in each coin over the years, and whether they would just have a sound money policy. Then money receipts. Because gold and silver and all these different other metals were so hard to carry around, what people did is they would have one person who would just specialize in storing all of it. So they would give you a receipt for how much you actually have in a storage unit. And that is where we rose to paper money. And that's how it's come along over the years. Now we have fractional reserve banking. It's the current banking model we have. It started off in Amsterdam, Netherlands with the Bank of Amsterdam. And it basically, you have a central bank. They extend loans to commercial banks, and they keep on doing this out to customers and other banks. And it's basically you have 10% of what you originally have on hand, and then you lend out the rest. So you're able to create more money into the system and help further and prosper more growth. And of course, that's been abused over the years, as seen with the 2008-2009 financial crisis and other financial crises in the past. And now there's digital money, which is relatively new. It came about in the 70s. Please ignore the Bitcoin logo right there. And it's basically US dollars or some other currencies that they have on their database. They say, oh, you made a verified transaction to this other person. The money goes there. And you basically have these platforms where it's all built up on there. You have credit cards, you have apps where you can just send money to people with like Venmo, of course, credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. And so that's really the next evolution in money and how we've been able to interact with it and make it be spendable on a lot larger scale. And of course, now we have Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies. And so we'll get into that further in another lesson. And that's it for today. My name is Jake Bryan. Please like, subscribe, and share my YouTube video. And I look forward to sharing the rest of the course with you. Goodbye.